And where are you at this month on the 15th, as of the 15th?
90.
Woo! Woo! $90,000 halfway through the month, baby. That's
November.
freaking intense.
In November.
All right, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Closers Network podcast. Really, the only podcast you should be listening to, guys, if you're looking to make a ton of money in the world of remote high-ticket sales. Whether you're seasoned or whether you're new, this is the place you want to be to add more money to your bank account. With that said, I want to reintroduce our guest today. We have a returning guest, so I'm excited. And I got to say, our guest today is one of the smartest people that I know in the world of remote high-ticket sales. So since his last visit, he's been all over the map. He's hit Austin, Vegas, West Palm Beach, and while you were probably grinding away on Zoom, he was riding around scooters in Austin, hanging with high-ticket sales prodigies, and squeezing some high-quality time in Florida with his mom, and we'll kind of get into that. And he's even had the chance to celebrate his 25th wedding anniversary, congratulations, in Barcelona. But guys, hey, this gentleman is not here just for fun stories. He has made a massive investment in himself, diving deeper into sales training, getting fresh insights, and I really want to get into him having a different perspective change on the power of silence during a sales call, something I think we can all learn from. Plus, he's also got a death clock on his phone, right? So yeah, that's right, a death clock. So if that doesn't make you rethink your priorities, I don't know what will. But guys, we got a lot to unpack today, from sales strategies to mindset shifts to really just deeper realization that we're all connected. And so get ready to level up and maybe get a little philosophical along the way. Let's dive in. Help me welcome, guys, back to the studio, Coach George in the house. What up, George?
Woo!
Bam. Awesome, dude. So
That's a very kind introduction, man. Thank you.
yeah, big bad Coach George. So, dude, we got to spend some time recently in West Palm Beach.
Yep.
As well as Vegas.
Yep.
Tell me a little bit about that. How was that for you?
It was eye-opening, man. The most important thing about travel, in my opinion, is that it expands your perspective, right? It messes with your schedule, of course, pretty big time. I mean, if you're on a plane, you're not doing a sales call. Mm-hmm. You're giving away your most precious asset, which is your time, mm-hmm. right? So if you're doing that, you want to make sure you've got a return on your investment, right? So first time in West Palm, obviously we were hanging out at the Vault conference with Patrick Bet-David, right? Proximity is power. Mm-hmm. That dude's vision, massive vision, right? And I mean, without that, it's like, where do you go, right? Mm-hmm. So it's super, super important. I had a realization on the plane. I was listening to another podcast about, how quickly success can happen. Mm-hmm. And, you could have a $5 million exit in 3 to 5 years if you're doing it right? If you're investing your time, if you have a plan to do it. I haven't had a plan like that for a while, so that's something I want to focus in on 2025. But and then when we went to Vegas, obviously we got to hang out with the amazing Brad Lee,
the real Brad Lee,
for sure. And that was it was eye opening too, man. I mean, the guy is a lunatic in the best possible way. Mm-hmm. And, who doesn't get fired up by just hanging out with somebody like that?
That's right. Yeah, that's awesome, dude. So for those of you guys that don't have context, right, about earlier this year, a few months ago, we ran a contest inside of our sales organization, one called Closers. And those individuals who were the top performers, I think we took about 25 people down to West Palm Beach, Florida, bought them tickets to the Vault conference, Patrick Bet-David's, and got to hang out, be in proximity, have a wonderful time together. And it was awesome, man. It was really cool. You got to visit your mom down there too, right?
I did, yeah. So my mom lives in South Florida. Mm-hmm. So, she's getting older. And, I live in Chicago. She lives in South Florida. We try and see each other 2-3 times, a year or more if we can. And, she's getting up there in age, right? So if she lives to 90, right, that's like 40 more visits.
You follow Jesse Itzler?
I do, yeah.
Did you hear that concept from him about that? Because he changed my entire perspective. He shared that with me.
I mean, I think I haven't seen it from him. I might have seen it from him. I mean, a couple different people talk about it. Mm-hmm. I know Jordan Peterson talks about it. Mm-hmm. I know there's a guy Oliver Burkeman, who wrote Time Management for Mortals or something like that. Or maybe it was 4,000 weeks. Maybe 4,000 weeks, which is your life.
4,000 weeks, dude. I mean, even when you look at it, break it down into days, I think the average person, if you live to like 75, is somewhere around the realm of like 25 to 27,000 days, which is pretty scary. In fact, somewhere on this table, I used to have an hourglass for that reason. So
Bingo.
I love the idea that you have a death clock, because I think one of the most important things we can do is just remind ourselves of how little time we actually have
100%.
and get our asses in gear
100%.
a lot faster, operate with a lot more urgency.
Without a doubt.
And so you, Antonio, you both have death clocks on your phones. I don't quite have the death clock, but I think it's always top of mind. I just always know I'm running out of time.
For sure.
And it just helps me operate with this level of urgency. And I told Rich on the podcast one time, I was like, man, it's like your life's like this hourglass, dude. Just grains of sand are just dropping every single day. And like next thing you know, like half of it's gone. And then it's like next thing you know, damn, like we're getting close, dude. Like,
right.
Got to get after it.
It's that concept of that Latin concept. What's his name?
Capre Dia? Oh, no. I'm not thinking
No. It's the...
Seize the day is what I was thinking.
The Stoic guy. I forget his name.
Market? Aurelius?
Yeah, I mean, part of it. He became more... I forget his name off the top of my head.
Who
but
you're talking about.
The obstacle is the way guy.
Oh, man, I don't know.
You know what I'm talking about? You know who I'm talking about. Everybody knows this guy. I just can't remember his name off the top of my head. But the obstacle is the way. And then the other side is memento mori, right?
Memento mori.
So, which is Latin for remember your death.
Remember your death.
Right. And I actually have it tattooed on my on my arm.
That's dope.
Which is a memento mori. And then this is a quote that Steve Jobs did on an email when someone had said, "Hey man, awesome job. You're returning CEO. You're the best CEO in 20 years." And he just responded, "Sic transit gloria," which means all glory fades.
Damn.
So I had to get that tattooed on me because I was like, it blew my mind. Because it's true. No matter, you could be number one month. Who knows what's going to happen month two, next month, right? Mm-hmm. That's the beauty about high ticket sales is every day you wake up unemployed.
That's right. You're only as good as your last sale, right?
100%.
So, dude, how was Barcelona celebrating your 25th wedding anniversary?
It was amazing. We found a better spot to hang out in. Mm-hmm. So we were closer to the old city, and it's an old Roman city, right? And it's a fortress town, right? So it's like all of like winding little streets and like very narrow and like almost medieval, right?
Sure.
So and then tucked away in there's all these people and their shops and. It's an international city, massive tourists and just a ton of people everywhere. And, it's alive in that way. But, Europe is also kind of like, a historical graveyard too. I mean, they don't have much going on there in terms of business or the future and you could recognize that in their people.
Interesting. What is some things that you kind of noticed when you were out there?
There's a lot more like social stuff.
That's right.
Right? Like, people are going out to eat, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock in the morning. It's like, man, I need to be in bed by then, dude. It's like, if I'm out at 12 midnight, I mean, I ain't getting up at 6. And if I ain't getting up at 6, I'm not going to meditate. I'm not going to journal. I'm not going to read and improve my brain. And, those are non-negotiables, man.
For sure. So I love that. And I actually want to get into some structure a little bit later.
For sure.
And talk about that. But man, you got to hang out with a lot of heavy hitters in Austin, in West Palm Beach. What's been maybe your biggest takeaway from surrounding yourself with these high performers? Or maybe it's recently, I think you shared with me, you invested into was it like something
it's like a mentorship
group, like a mentorship?
It's a mentorship,
right?
Yeah.
So I guess from all those experiences, or maybe all, one or maybe all of them, like what do you feel like's been like your biggest takeaway from surrounding yourself with that proximity?
So that's an awesome question. And, when you're looking at somebody who's achieved something, it's one thing to say, wow, they've done something really, really amazing, right? But if they don't, you don't really know what's going on behind the scenes of how they did that. Right. So they might have an awesome business that they created and you don't see the suffering and the struggle to get where they've gotten. Right. And this is part of the challenge of looking at a mentor or seeking a mentor and looking at a mentor from a book perspective or your offer owner, influencer, whatever, to be like, I want to be like that person. And you just see outwardly maybe just financial success, right? But if you're, if you think about it one level deeper, right? It's like, okay, do you want this guy's life in all of his aspects? The financial piece, awesome. They massive success, but they might be divorced, overweight, have no, the kids hate them, right? Is it worth it to trade those things for the money? I would say no.
So it's funny you said that, because that's why I started working for Bedros early on, because I was like, hey, who's got the ideal life that I want to live? And to your point, like not just the money, but who's got the other things that I want, and how are they maintaining and controlling that? And what's your definition of success, Mike? Right? And is that what you want? And then if it is, that's great. Like, hey, you can kind of imitate that and follow the blueprint that somebody that you look up to maybe has already been proven
right
to show, right? So
that matches with your kind of value system as well, right? Like you guys are both Armenian, right? So that helps too, right? You guys have a cultural connection and be like, okay, this is how we do it in our culture, and I'm not going to abandon that, and I don't want to abandon that, right? So I think that's an important piece also.
For sure. It's funny because also, like, you're absolutely right. Ali was here yesterday, Coach Ali, officially now.
Yes.
And he was just talking about his own Instagram, and we were talking about that, like, yeah, hey man, like, because I was talking about, he's got one of the coolest Instagrams, and he's posting, I'm sure you follow him, you see all the things he does on there. But he's like, yeah, Mike, but that's just the 1%. Like, what you don't see is the 99% of like what I'm doing on the back end,
the grind,
in order to do that 1%,
for sure,
right? It's the grind, and it's just like it makes a lot of sense, and it's like, yeah, people just see that 1%. But speaking of structure, let's dive into that. Like, what does it look like for you? Like, walk us through your habits, your day. How are you structured, and how do you do so much, juggling being like a top 5 closer in the entire sales agency, right? You're consistently on the leaderboard.
Number 1 right now, baby. Woo!
Yeah, number one right now, just so you know. And this guy wears a lot of hats. It's not just being a top closer. He's got a lot of different things. He helps a lot of people like that are coming on the offer that he's representing. He actually coaches multiple offers, not just one, right? He coaches in our school community for multiple influencers, including ourselves. Like, this guy is just like, he's doing it, right? So how does one like you, George, maintain such a high level of success? What does that structure look like for you? And like, how do you do it? How do you maintain and juggle all the different hats that you're wearing? How does one do that?
I wish I could say, I could explain it like XYZ, ABC, this is, do this, but that it takes a lot of work even to get to that point, right? It's not just you flip a switch and it all happens, right? So I've been working on myself for a long, long time, probably one of the oldest members on the team, right?
Yeah,
so
for sure.
I've been able to compound a lot of the work that I've done on myself, and that's kind of manifested in what I've done. Okay. That being said, I go to bed pretty early, so my day starts the night before, right? I hydrate before I go to bed. Recently, I started taking an L-theanine supplement, which has dramatically improved my sleep. So
really,
I was like, wow, this is like a game changer.
L-theanine.
L-theanine, yeah.
I've heard of it. I've never taken it.
It's pretty common in a lot of sleep supplements, and I was taking a cocktail of different ones, and I'm like, and it's like, I'm not seeing the effect that I want. I'm just going to try to isolate them and like be an experiment on myself, right? So I'm waking up, and I'm waking up before my alarm, which is pretty awesome. Okay, and now that's
incredible, by the way. It's probably the greatest. Brad Lee talks about that a lot. He just wakes up naturally.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I mean, I open my eyes, I look at my clock, and I'm like, holy shit, my alarm hasn't gone off yet, and I'm up. It's a really great feeling, right? So I don't know if that L-theanine like regulates your circadian rhythm or just lowers stress or whatever, but it's awesome. So get a really good night's sleep, right? And then I wake up, and as soon as I get downstairs, I'll meditate for at least 10 or 15 minutes, right? And it's usually guided meditation. I'm not good enough to do it on my own, and I only recently started doing it, but it's been really, really helpful.
Do you use an app?
I'm actually using a guided meditation through an author that I like. Joseph Goldstein is his name.
Okay.
But I discovered him on an app.
Okay.
I liked his guided meditations on the app.
Okay.
So there you go. So, but I didn't like the other people. I only liked him. So I went with him. And then, and that's been on my mind lately because I'm feeling like, okay, connection to, just the rest of the world, the infinite consciousness, God, whatever you want to call it, right? I don't care about your spiritual beliefs. That doesn't matter to me. You can believe whatever you want, but we're all connected in some way, and that helps me get closer to that connection, whatever it is, right? So that's an awesome way to start your morning, in my opinion, right? And then after that, I'll have a cup of coffee. I do what's called I will take there's a salt supplement or an electrolyte supplement.
Element?
Yeah, it's Element, but with my coffee.
That's next level, bro.
Yeah, so you put it in your coffee.
Salty coffee,
It's salty coffee, basically. It's good as hell. I love it. So I do that.
Sounds good to me, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because I like dark chocolate with sea salt.
Yeah, it's the flavors.
Like not too sweet. But
It's like that.
Do you put any sugar in your coffee?
Doesn't need to.
Yeah.
It doesn't need with that. It's
a little bit of sweetness, right? What flavor do you put in there?
That's chocolate flavor.
Dude, it's amazing. The chocolate flavor is amazing. It tastes really good.
Right. So then I do that, and then I'm having my coffee, and then I'm reading a book or listening to an audiobook. Right. And right now, I've actually been through a couple different ones recently, but right now I'm doing the 12 Rules for Life by Jordan Peterson again. Awesome book, chapter 3. If you want to kind of investigate your mindset, really great chapter if you want to go back and visit that one. And then
Wayne Dyer.
I just finished Wayne Dyer's book.
You hit me up about intention.
Yes. Wayne Dyer's book. That one blew my mind. This is one of the books that my mentor recommended. It's Never Crowded on the Extra Mile, Along the Extra Mile. Have you heard of that one?
No.
So good, dude. So
Really?
good. Yeah, blew my mind. So that's what got me thinking about connection and about, everybody's connected, and that there's just this spiritual realm that we can take energy and power from, and we can start to resonate at that higher level, at what Wayne Dyer likes to talk about, like the possibility consciousness, where most people hang out in the problem consciousness, right? And if you're in the possibility consciousness, especially when you're on a sales call, they're like, I don't know what's wrong with that guy, or something about that guy. I don't know what it is, but I want to follow him.
That's right.
Right. That's what it brings to the table.
So I'm glad you got those realizations through reading books, because back in the day when I was a young man, I got some of those realizations through taking some magical mushrooms.
Well, listen, dude, listen. So it's funny you should say that, but the experience of
Psilocybin.
Well, so I mean, in mushrooms, ayahuasca, peyote, all of those things. I mean, there is you can get there's a similar response in your brain through meditation, believe it or not. Right. And, whatever spiritual, leaders, shaman, all that kind of stuff, that's how they did it. It's a mechanical way to get their brain to think that way. But once they did it, they were able to access, whatever, talking to your ancestors, feeling like, seeing the future, all this crazy stuff.
Dude, yeah, I was 15 when I first tried it the first time, and it changed my entire perspective on life. Though it gave me wisdom that I never thought I had, and it just came to me and showed me stuff.
Accessed it, right?
Yeah, it was unbelievable. I never really did it too much after that, but it was enough. It was for me to have this profound perspective, and I'm like, I think I'm good.
Michael Pollan wrote a book about it, where there's a lot of, especially in California, right? There's talk about LSD microdosing and helping people deal with trauma that way, or doing it through microdosing psilocybin.
That's right.
And you don't need like multiple experiences. You just need one. It can help with addiction. It can help with trauma. It can help you, clear some mental baggage that maybe you're not able to clear on your own.
Yeah.
And open that third eye, for lack of a better term.
I feel like that's what it did for me.
Forget about it.
It's funny you mentioned that, but yeah, that's powerful stuff, man. Powerful stuff. So one thing I want to talk about, I think you mentioned you had a whirlwind of a Q3.
Yeah.
So help me understand, like, especially with all the challenges you face as traveling and taking time off for that, how do you still stay strong and convicted and crush, even with all the things that have been happening there?
Travel's hard, man. I mean, I realized that yesterday. We're leaving the house at 5:00 p.m. right to drive to the airport because I'm like, I don't want to be in somebody's Uber in traffic for 2 hours. Smelly car, whatever. You've been in an Uber like that, right? So, and I'm not going to get out, right? Because I need to get into the airport. I'm not going to get another Uber by the side of the road, right? So I'm like, so we're driving there. I'm like, it's raining. It's like, ugh. And my wife's like, do I really want to go to this? I'm like, hey, if you don't want to go, we're good. Stay home, fine. I'll just go. I'll take the Uber, right? Don't sweat it. She's like, no, I'll go. It's like, okay, cool. So, we get on the plane, we're waiting around, go through security, all the typical hassles, right? And then I'm like, well, if I'm going to focus on the problem is just going to magnify. So I'm like, okay, I get to do this rather than I want to do, I choose to do this, not I'm forced to do this, right? And so a little perspective reframe, right? There's one thing that I really learned from this mentor that I'm working with right now is like, one of the most powerful things you can do with yourself is do a discovery on yourself when you're asking, like you're trying to figure out a problem. Mm-hmm. The same thing that we do with our prospects, right? It's like, tell me a little bit about that. Tell me a little bit more about that, George. What makes you feel that? What's that?
Diving deeper.
Yeah, 100%. And you encounter that, and it's like, okay, this makes sense. Okay.
Don't just take these surface level answers.
Right.
Really go in.
That's right. And that's why journal's really, really important, right? To go back and say, okay, look, this is where I am today. This is how, where I was, and be super proud of that gap, man. We're always thinking the future, but like we don't pay attention to the last year where I look at, when I started here last January to where I am now, I'm like, God, man, leaps and bounds better, right? Massive future. Anyway, so travel, very hard, messes with your schedule, messes with the way you eat, your sleep patterns. You're not sleeping in your own bed. You've got other responsibilities. So it's just total disruption, right? And you can let the disruption totally derail you, or you can be like, okay, it's the season for travel. This is what I'm doing. I'm going to focus in on just making the most out of the situation, right? I'm not going to worry about things I can't control, and we'll get through this and just, recenter, right? That, in meditation, they always talk about when you're supposed to kind of keep your mind empty, right? Keep it as vast as space, right? But you're still thinking about stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
But I think that's part of the exercise is to have those thoughts come and go.
Correct. So you notice them.
Yeah.
And then focus back on the breath. Recenter.
Yes.
Right. And then be awakened as you notice the thought appear and disappear.
Shout out to you for closing your wife on coming. For that, you deserve a...
Gone.
You close her.
I love it. Awesome.
And so on that note, dude, I put a sound on here just for you because I had a guy named Rajiv on the podcast.
Yes.
I sent you a clip of Rajiv, and what did you say? You said, what's the musical instrument?
The vuvuzela.
Vuvuzela, bro. So just for you, I had to install the vuvuzela.
Let's hear it.
Because you're making a lot of impact out there in India. Is that it? There we go.
A pretty sad one though.
Yeah.
But you know what? Actually, that horn has an interesting story, right? I learned about the vuvuzela maybe 2 or 3 World Cups ago.
Oh, okay.
And it's this plastic horn. It's about yay long.
I've seen it.
Right?
I didn't know the name. I didn't know it was called a vuvuzela.
Vuvuzela, yeah.
Yeah, vuvuzela.
They banned it at the soccer games.
Why?
Because there would be 100,000 of these people, and it would be deafening. The players couldn't hear each other to pass the ball.
Wow, that's freaking wild.
It is wild, dude.
Damn, that's wild. So they have to cut that out. But dude, shout out to you because you're making a lot of impact, man. And whether it's Rajiv, whether it's the hundreds of other people that you coach and that you help, but there's a lot that you're doing there. And
Thanks,
we're seeing the impact. We're seeing the impact, and it's powerful. It's really powerful. So, by the way, this is funny to me, dude, but I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of like anchoring or like price anchoring or dropping. But I think in the Indian culture, like that's a thing.
They absolutely love it.
So for me, it feels like, of course, it's all in how you drop it.
Right.
right? Even in the States, I'm sure if you do it your way and you do it like you show up a certain way, you play the part, it'll work. But for most people, I feel like it'll be harder because it sounds salesy. But in the Indian culture, I think they love a great deal. So it's like, as soon as he's like, hey, I use what Coach Joe showed me to do, he's like, I'm just going to tell him it's 8,000 and I'm going to lower it to like 4. And then they're like, okay, man, that's great. Like, let's do it, you know? And he's just slamming deals left and right out there, bro.
Beautiful.
They're charging $300 to $500 for a gym membership in India.
Per month.
Jeez, I'm like, bro, we barely have gyms out here that charge $300 to $500.
Yeah, it's a really nice gym.
Yeah, that's like an Equinox or something like even more private and upscale than that.
Equinox has a 20K membership.
20K membership.
Yeah, it's like their super elite VIP package. I mean, I used
we
to
need to sell those for Equinox.
Probably, right?
Yes.
There you go. That'd be another account to get.
Yeah. That'd be interesting, actually. I'm gonna look into that. Yeah. I think if we could sell for some big box gyms, sell their premium packages, or like for the year, or just like these special services, we'd freaking slay them.
Dude, I used to go to them at my old offer. We had a deal with them where you could, they paid for part of the membership. I didn't have the 20. They didn't have the 20K plan, but like the offer owner had the higher package, so they get their own dressing rooms. Right, there's food and a mini fridge and stuff. It's like a hotel. Yeah, 100%.
Well, if anyone's out there that's listening that knows somebody in Equinox that we can show and prove that we collect anywhere from $5 to $8 million a month for fitness companies, and you're out there and you need some help with that, I would appreciate if you send this video over or share some information about us to them.
Cool.
Dude, so I'm excited to dive into the something that you said more recently you changed your perspective on, which is silence on a sales call. I've learned that from Rich and Trish, starting at FitBody with them and continuously incorporating it in the world of remote high ticket sales in the coaching space. And I always tell new closers, if they ever seen like Entourage, the TV show, like silence is golden.
Right.
I don't know if you know Ari Gold.
Yeah.
So it's like silence, Lloyd. But what changed for you? What got you to rethink your perspective, and how have you been able to leverage that in sales calls?
So most recently, I've been pitching big, right? And
pitching big. You just recently closed a $17,000 fitness package.
That one, I mean, that one is a little bit, more few and far between. I mean, when I'm talking big, I'm talking like the 8 and the 7, 8, 6, 10, that kind of thing, right? I like pitching the 8 because it's 12 months.
Okay.
Right. So, I'll anchor high. I know you don't like that.
It works for the right person.
For the right person.
You're the right person.
Yeah. So then I'm like, hey.
It's not going to work for someone who just got into sales probably.
Right.
And doesn't have that experience and doesn't know how to finesse it.
Right.
It takes a certain person, I believe.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you can't do it if you're new. I'm just saying it's going to be a little harder.
Yeah. So I'll anchor the retail on the $17,000 package. Right. And I'll say, hey, we've got a package for people who need to lose 200 pounds. They work with V-Shred for 18 months. Normal retail price on that is $35,000. And I'll watch them, right? I want to see their response. Yeah, 100%, right?
Body language, tone.
Absolutely. Everything.
Facial expressions.
Yep. So I won't, at that point we play whoever speaks first loses, right?
That's right.
And they're like, wow, that's a lot of money. I'm like, it is a lot of money. Thankfully, you don't need that. And I'm not going to suggest that for you.
Oh, really?
Right? But then I say, but I'm not going to kid you either. Working with a coach for 12 months where they're doing your meal plan, your workouts, providing support and accountability to make sure you get guaranteed results. I mean, a lot of people consider it to be very, very expensive. Okay. And it's expensive because it works, because you're going to get an awesome coach, because we guarantee you that we can get your results. You're like, okay. Now, before I tell you about the investment, I want to ask you something, because a lot of people just want to hear the price. They love everything. But as soon as they hear the price, they immediately throw their goals away and they say, I can't afford it. I'm going to challenge you not to do that. Do you accept that challenge?
Hot freaking drop, bro. I gotta give it to you for that one. That's a hot drop right there, guys. That's some gold. He's giving you some gold right now.
Yeah. So I'm going to challenge you. And sometimes they'll break their promise to themselves. Okay. But I was like, can you promise to yourself to not give up on yourself, right? Once you hear the number, will you promise that right now? Sure, I'll promise that. Cool. Okay, so let's talk about the number. So it's $11,000.
It ain't 35 or whatever.
What's that?
It ain't 30 whatever.
No, they already know that the 35's in their head, right?
Yeah.
It's 11,000. I'm like, well, that's better than 35. Usually what they say.
Yeah.
Right? And I go, it's still a ton of money, man. Right? But again, we play whoever speaks first loses at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I'm like, well, that's better than 35. I go, huh? And then I'll let them try to elaborate. And then they go, are you there? I go, yeah, I was just letting you think about it.
Damn.
Right?
Damn.
Right? And then, so I go, so, we've built a little bit of momentum by being on this call today. Talked about your goals. We've talked about your challenges, where you want to be, right? You said you felt worthless. You can't keep the lights on. You keep the lights dim when you're intimate with your wife. You don't like the way you look. You can't be the dad that you want to be. Mm-hmm. You don't want to continue down that path. Right?
That's right. So
we want to build on that momentum. And the way we build on that momentum here is by offering you a discount off that $11,000 price. It's $3,000 off today. So rather than $11,000, it's $8,000.
Damn.
Now, it's still a lot of money. Not going to kid you about that. Can you put something like that on a card? Well, George, I think I can.
And then next thing you know,
let's go.
Oh, no, hold on. We're going to go. George is out here just making money, printing money, baby.
Now, the thing is this, right? If your vibe is off, right? If you're like cashing the check, if you're thinking that right at that point, the universe has a funny way of refunding that sale within 48 hours.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right? So you just got to be chill, dude.
Yeah.
You got to calm the hell down. Yes, of course they bought from you. They're always going to buy from you because I'm awesome.
Damn, what a freaking perspective. What a perspective. He's giving you the keys to the kingdom right now, guys. Like, this is how you close up shop. But what I hear you saying is, dude, at the same time, like, yes, you're there to advance, but you actually give a shit about the people you talk
100%,
to.
dude.
And they sense that you're not just there to get a commission.
Correct.
They sense you're there because you give a damn.
100%.
And
to change their lives.
That's right. That's freaking powerful, man. That's really powerful. So I appreciate you sharing that with me because that's really good stuff. So one more thing I want to get into here,
sure.
And we're getting close to wrapping up, but you talked about two schools of thought in objection handling,
mm-hmm.
Pre-addressing objections versus handling them at the end. What's your current approach, and has it evolved at all?
Yes. I used to be the handle at the end kind of guy. But I felt like it was so much work.
Yeah.
Like you're twisting their arm and you're like, but this and this and this. And they're like, yeah, I guess so. Okay, I guess I'll do it. Like you're convincing them rather than letting them come to the conclusion where they're going to be like, I want to do this and there's no objections. Mm-hmm. Right? Because you're like, the discovery is so deep that you understand the problem in such a way that nobody's ever helped them understand.
Bring that level of clarity.
Correct. To the point where it's idiotic to say no.
Dude, that's yeah. I realized the top closers, the couple things that they do a really phenomenal job of is bring clarity and have honest conversations. Now, what I want to know though, because I think this is where a lot of people that I see that are newer into the space falling into the trap, is they think that, hey, Coach George, just because I handled all the pre-objections, like I'm not going to get any objections.
No.
And then what happens is they get the objection, even though they pretty much followed everything to the T. And
correct.
Let's just say as a coach, you would give them a 9 out of 10 on discovery.
Right.
Maybe there's always room for improvement, but like 9 out of 10 is pretty good.
Yep.
And so they get that first objection. And then immediately I see their body language, tonality, and facial expressions change. It's like they just drop.
Correct.
Like as if they didn't know it's coming, right? So what would you tell someone, like, even though you do the best job, right? And you try to weed all of that stuff out and you really try to make them feel heard and understood. You build that trust, you bring that level of clarity. But when it comes time to dropping 11,000, they weren't quite quite expecting that, right? So I think you need to have some empathy there and understand where they're coming from. But what would you tell someone that's coming into it? Like, should they still expect objections?
Always. I mean, I don't want them.
Right.
And I'm going to try to handle them as best I can. But, it's like saying, is it going to rain?
Yeah.
Sometimes it rains.
Sometimes it rains.
Right. And, there's an old expression. It's like, there's no such thing as bad weather, only inappropriate clothing.
That's a good one right there. Man, this guy's so smart, man. This guy's got all the things in his freaking brain right here. He's loaded up with all the content, man. Dude, you read a lot. I want to start reading more like you. I need to definitely read more. I listen to too many podcasts. I need to cut that out.
No, podcasts are good, but you podcasts are a level beyond after the reading, right? So if you go to the reading, you're like, okay, this is what they use to have the conversation in the podcast.
That's right.
Right. So you're going to the primary source.
That's right.
Right. That's why Jordan Peterson's so good, because he's like, this book, this study, this person. So you can go back and look at, his stuff. He's on 100 podcasts. He's got his own podcast, but he's got 100 primary sources that he's already talking about as well, that you can go back and be like, okay, I'm going to study this. I'm going to study this. I'm going to look into that.
Help us understand, Coach George. What did you do last month in terms of like catch collected? Obviously you're wearing a lot of other hats and there's a lot of other things happening there.
Yeah.
But just sales only, sales strictly. What did Coach George collect last month?
It was over 100.
Wow.
Which is
100,000.
Yeah. Which is, that's kind of my baseline. That's like minimum level that I want to collect on a monthly basis. The thing about last month is I was gone for 10 days. So I collected 122 selling days. 22 selling days rather than 30.
And where are you at this month on the 15th, as of the 15th?
90.
Woo! $90,000 halfway through the month, baby. That's freaking intense.
In November. That's right.
Which, by the way, Thanksgiving, all this stuff happening.
Yeah, I want to break a PR this month and do 200.
200. I think you could do it.
I'm pretty confident.
Enough time to make it happen.
Yeah.
100%. Guys, that equates to some serious money if you were to convert that in commissions earned. So that's awesome, man. That's freaking awesome. I'm excited for you, dude.
Thank you.
Is there anything that you want to talk about that I haven't brought up that maybe you want to share with our listener today?
The one thing I would say is this, and we kind of touched on it earlier, but we have a limited amount of time, right? And maybe we're talking about it off camera. I don't even remember, but there's an opportunity here in front of you if you get really good at high ticket closing, right? Where you can make 25, 30, 35, 40, $50,000 a month, right? And I don't say that to embellish. I mean, obviously it's going to take some skill and some work and becoming the type of person, right, who deserves that kind of money, right?
Yeah.
Who truly can earn it, right, by being good.
Yeah.
Right? Now, if that opportunity is in front of you and you don't take advantage of it, right? Like you say, well, I made 12. Which isn't a bad living, right? I mean, it's more than 90%, maybe 85% of Americans.
Sure.
And if you're doing it as a non-American, like if you're doing it in Canada, forget about it. I don't even know what the rates are.
It's like a 25% bump.
No, but I was like, I don't even know what the average income in Canada is.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
Right. So, if you're in, whatever, South Africa or if you're in Mexico, there's
you're probably in like the 1% of the 1%.
Yeah, probably something. At least the 1%.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, you're having a crazy good life, right? So, but at the end of the day, yes, it's about advancing yourself financially and improving your quality of life. But it's like Ian always says, right? The effects that you have ripples, or the effects that you make have ripples, right? Like how, Rajiv is coming to free classes that we're offering on Closers Network through school, and he's changed his life. I don't know him, but I bet you if I go to India and I visit him, he could be like, he's going to buy me a steak dinner.
Yeah. Oh, there's no doubt about it.
Or I don't know if that would be cool. I mean, maybe they're vegetarian, but whatever
that looks like there.
The equivalent of a luxurious dinner in wherever he is. I don't know. India's a big country, a lot of people.
Yeah.
So, we have an opportunity to do that. Now, that opportunity, we always try to, like, if we project into the future, right? we think about, oh man, I'm going to live in this awesome house. I'm going to drive this awesome car, whatever. My life is going to be good, good, good. Right? It's fine. That's cool. Right? If that's what motivates you, there's nothing wrong with that. Okay? But only focusing on that stuff without realizing that, you know, there's a certain finitude to your life, right? And to the ones that you love, and realizing that, you know, your mom's going to get sick and die eventually. Your dad will, right? What if your mom gets diagnosed with cancer, right? And there's a treatment that'll let her stick around for an extra year, but it costs $150,000. How many people do you know that could drop that kind of money to do that?
I mean, I know a few just because of the people I'm surrounded by, but most people, I would imagine, don't
Right.
have that access.
But this is a vehicle to possibly give you that access if you get to the level where you want to be.
That's right.
Right?
100%.
So now we're talking about you can recapture what's the ultimate resource, especially, you know, in a terminal life situation where you can have some flexibility to say, I'm going to go hang out with my mom and spend time and buy this treatment for her. This is not happening to me, by the way, guys. It's not a story about me.
Yeah.
But there are people who are watching and listening who I'm sure have been in a situation like that where someone they loved needed something and they weren't able to provide. They weren't able to be that person even though they wanted to be. And if that's who you want to be, this is an opportunity to do it. And that's a sacred responsibility, duty even, right? To really, you know, show your love, right? Because money's great and all that good stuff. It gives you, you know, all that crap if you want it. But if you could, you know, let mom hang around for, you know, if your mom's important to you. If it's not, you know, whatever. But it could be your child.
That's right.
Right?
Your spouse.
Your spouse.
A brother, a sister.
Exactly.
Whoever.
Yep.
Someone that's near and dear to you.
Right.
I actually just heard, I listened to this podcast Rich turned me on to called Money Wise. And this guy brings on like people that have made 50, are worth at least 50 or 100 mil plus.
Yep.
And they talk about all the things that they do with their money.
Yeah.
And this one dude was just on recently and he was just talking about how as he was scaling and growing his business, he was definitely sacrificing time from the family and stuff. But at the same time, he was stacking a bunch of cash. And unfortunately, his wife ended up having cancer. And dude, if I didn't have that money, like she's probably gone now. Like I was able to get her treatment. That was like just
experimental.
The 1% of the 1% treatment that you can get out there that obviously costs a ton of money. And he was able to do that and his wife recovered and she's still here today. And he's like, dude, to your point, it's like, this could be a vehicle for you guys. And on that note, like, if you want to work alongside what Coach George or myself or any of the other people we brought on, guys, then click the link in the description below, the first link. It's the Work With Us page. And it'll give you an opportunity to have an interview with us and potentially see if you're going to be a good fit here at One Call Closers Network and potentially help us continue scaling our offers and continue scaling our sales agency. Just an FYI, guys, in just the last 5 years, we're hitting close to about $250 million in sales. Since the company's inception, we're only growing. I think we're close to now, I don't know, maybe about 400 sales reps across all of the offers. So if you want to be a part of this, guys, don't miss out. This is an opportunity. It's here now. And one thing about opportunities is they're here today and they're gone tomorrow. So click that first link, schedule an interview with us, chat with us if you're interested in potentially joining our team. If that's not you right now, guys, if you're not looking for an opportunity, but you're just interested in the space, click the second link in the description below. It'll allow you to get into our free school community where we give you 5 days a week of live coaching, the same coaching that Rajiv was on, that Coach George and I talked about today. By the way, Rajiv on the podcast said that he made more in the last 2 months than he did in an entire year, just implementing the free stuff that we give you guys. So make sure you join. Make sure you join the school community or schedule an interview and join the school community. And we hope to see you on the other side. With that said, Coach George, I'm looking forward to the Christmas party tomorrow, man. Thank you so much for coming back on. I look forward to doing it again, man.
Boom.
Bam. We'll see you guys on the next episode.